Hey folks, thanks for stopping by and checking out the Business Line podcast. In this show, what we're trying to do is get in front of people all over the country, all over the world that are moving and shaking in business, whether they're a part of a big business or they're starting something from the ground up. We want to get to know them. We want to get to know their journey, their struggle, and a little bit about what they love in life. We hope you check out every episode you can. All right, well, welcome everybody to today's episode of the Business Line podcast. Today, I'm really excited to introduce our guest. Today with us is Krish Ramineni. He is the founder of Fireflies.ai, former product manager at Workday and Microsoft, and I hear also one of the youngest product managers ever when you were with Microsoft. So I'm interested to learn a little bit about that, what it's like working with those guys. But anyway, Krish, thanks so much for being on the show. Super excited to get to know you and find out all the great ways that you're moving and shaking. So Krish, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and where you're at today.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for having me on. Excited to talk more about us and AI and Fireflies. Just a quick background on us. We're building AI for meetings. We have an AI meeting assistant, almost what you would imagine an AI teammate that joins you across your meetings, takes notes for you, writes things down, helps you remember tasks and next steps. We've been doing this for almost 8 years now. So pre-COVID to where we are today, it's been a whirlwind of a journey.
That's so cool. And I've got some interesting questions, I think, about that our audience is going to be, excited to hear about. But let's back up a little bit, not too far. But so you're alumni of Rice and University of Pennsylvania, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So what did you study in school? Kind of what got you, to the point of, getting into the business world?
What's interesting is when I first started out, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I really wanted to go and be a plastic surgeon. That was the initial thing. And I would shadow a surgeon one of my first year of school at Rice. Rice is a great medical program. But then somewhere along the way, I realized I don't know if I want to do this for 20 years that a lot of young undergrads have.
Wow.
And I went and sat in this college career seminar, and they said, yeah, if you want to make a lot of money, you should go into finance. And then I started reading about investment banking, and I thought, this is great. Maybe this is my calling. And then I transferred to Penn, UPenn, and Wharton have a fantastic program, and they're a great funnel into Wall Street. But my first day, I realized I just don't want to do finance. I want to create stuff. I don't want to just shuffle things around and make money through arbitrage. That's not what I wanted to do. I have a lot of friends in finance, and I just poke fun at that. But what really changed, I think, the trajectory of my career was one summer after my freshman year, I did not have any internships really lined up. So I worked for a VC firm for free.
Okay.
And then me and my friend at the time started working on a product together. We learned to code, write everything from scratch. And every day we would go into his dad's office, and they had a little space over there. We would sit down and write code and build a product. And then we would bring on a bunch of friends who also didn't have summer internships and get them to work together. And we created this mini startup within a summer that got to thousands of users. And it was a college campus events product at the time. And after the end of the summer, I'm like, I would love to do this forever. This sounds so much more fun.
Yeah.
And so I completely changed my career trajectory from pre-med to finance to focusing more on engineering and systems engineering and working on things related to that. So I was self-taught for most of the things that I did, but I realized the calling was not in either finance or medicine.
Yeah.
So I have a very interesting journey in that regard, but I also ended up finishing school in 2 years at Penn and then going off and working at Microsoft. And that was also an interesting thing because that was not supposed to happen because I was only a junior. I had done my first internship as a PM at Workday, which does HR tech. And basically anyone that gets onboarded as a new hire at a company probably uses Workday and probably has to interact with Workday. At the end of the summer, while I was working at Workday, the HR recruiter said, "Hey, we loved having you here. we'd love to have you come back full time next year. And I think they didn't realize that I was still a junior at the time.
Okay. They thought you were done.
Yeah. So I went to my college counselor after that. And I said, hey, is there any way I can do 2 years worth of courses in 1 year? So I ended up taking 7-8 courses a semester. So I ended up doing like 16 classes in junior year, and also was doing on-campus recruiting. And through that, ended up getting into Microsoft. And I said, yeah, I don't want to go to Seattle. Like, why would I want to go to Seattle? California is amazing.
Yeah.
I have a return offer at Workday. But ended up getting an offer that I couldn't refuse. So finished school a year early, ended up going to Microsoft as a PM. That's my journey.
So tell me a little bit about that year of doubling up your course load. I mean, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I'm genuinely interested. Did you just silo yourself away from it and just buckle down? Or is it just kind of natural for you to be able to take that extra workload on and get it done?
I feel like the way I work is similar even today to how I worked in college. I believe that a lot of people work in bursts rather than continuous waves. So speaking of like how I do meetings, I have days where I'll have like a lot of meetings. And then other days where I just don't want any meetings on my calendar. I need time to think. And there's this famous thing with like Steve Jobs where he said, you need 50% of your calendar unblocked so you can just think. It's like when you go out for a walk or when you're doing something else, the idea hits you. I always used to work in like bursts. I would set aside like 2 to 3 hours to do things, but then I needed 2 hours of downtime to do other stuff, like go for a walk, listen to a podcast, go to the gym. But I'm constantly thinking and letting the ideas like marinate. But like I always used to feel like you don't need 8 hours or 10 hours to do work. Your real work is happening within a 2 to 3 hour window.
Yep,
and the rest of the time you're filling by scrolling through Instagram or you're watching like Reels and TikTok. So I try to do undisturbed work for a short period of time. So for me, it's like sprints, like mini sprints, like bursts.
Mm-hmm.
Was like the most effective thing. And I figured that out in college. And I've been using it ever since.
That's pretty wise. I mean, you're pretty young. You're probably a little bit younger than me, but for a guy your age, but you're doing great things. That's why. I mean, that's very good words of advice, because it took me a long time to learn that. And sometimes it's even harder to communicate that with peers. It's like, because what I'll do is I'll block focus time on my calendar. And sometimes I'm the biggest culprit of breaking that. I'll be like, okay, you can put meetings on my focus time. We got to get this done, right? But those weeks when I just fill my calendar with meetings, because I'm doing a lot of the sales and marketing and business development for my company. And if I let it happen, people will fill my calendar, wall to wall. And it's brutal, because you get done, even if it's a day, you're just like, what happened? And you'll get through that whole week and you'll have accomplished a lot, but everything that has to get done as a result of those meetings, it's almost like a blur. Like, when am I going to get this done?
Yeah. So true. That's, I found myself in the early years, me doing the actual creative work was happening on the weekends, because during the week I had to have meetings and one-on-ones and manage like all the team. And that was just taking so much time. So I made a lot of structural changes, which might be controversial, might be different. Like, one is I don't do one-on-ones in my team. Everything happens in a group setting. Everything happens either over a meeting or asynchronously. But we also hire people that are more senior. So that allows us to let them manage themselves. I know that sounds crazy. That sounds like anarchy. But I later found out, like, the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, does the exact same thing, where he has dozens of direct reports. I think he has 60 direct reports. He does no one-on-ones. He gives feedback right then and there. He's hiring mostly senior people. And usually if you are reporting up to a CEO, you are managing your career in your own way, and you're rewarded based on like what gets done.
That's absolutely true.
But I also like the pleasure of using Fireflies to send it to meetings that I don't want to attend. And I will be like, hey, I can't attend this meeting, but I'll check the notes Fireflies writes up. So that way I can deflect a lot of meetings, but still stay in the loop.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a really good segue, Krish. Good job. You're hired, bud. So let's segue into Fireflies a bit, because like you said, you guys were doing this really before it came to the forefront. You kind of had a vision of this is possible. So let's go back to, what was this, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, when this is really kind of birthing in your minds with you and I don't know if you had some other, I think you have a co-founder and other people might have been involved. Well, got to kind of thinking that this was even possible. Like, because we're all buried in meetings, and either leveraging it like you just talked about there, or just having it there, doing those things that, you need to get done in a meeting, but so you can focus on, actually talking to, that's what I'll say all the time when I'm meeting with folks. I'm like, hey, I'm going to record this and I've got AI taking notes. That way I can pay attention to you and we can have a real meaningful conversation. And I'm not, constantly looking down and writing and, losing my train of thought. So take me back to when this really became an idea. What was that? What happened there?
I'll start by saying, this wouldn't be possible without my co-founder, Sam. Like, him and I have gone through quite a journey for almost a decade. We've gone through 8 to 10 different product launches, a lot of different failures along the way before we landed on meetings. And it was something that came to us more organically. We were trying to build all these things for other people when we started Fireflies, right? We were two 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds that knew nothing about enterprise software, business software. But we said, that's where the money is, so let's just go build things that businesses need. And it wasn't something we could relate to. Like I always say, like if you were building something, you want to build for a problem that you have, that you can genuinely feel, because you are your first customer. That's the best way to build a product. Now, if you're building a product for the government, there's a lot of money there, for sure, but you have to have a really good sense of understanding that persona. So what we did was, hey, all these products we're building are not working out. How do we build for something that we deal with every single day, like a problem? And we realized we're having lots of meetings with investors where we're getting no all the time. We're talking to a lot of users. All this information is being dumped in like chicken scratch on a notepad. And we need to have a way to have all of this organized. And when I was a PM at Microsoft, I realized a lot of PMs, and I hate to say this, are glorified secretaries. Very few PMs actually have really good product insights and can go write scripts and build wireframes and do that. Most of the time at a big company, a PM is middle management that's coordinating meeting between engineers, writing up meeting notes and facilitating that. That's the part of my job that I did not like. Yeah. I do not want to be the administrative person. And when I see like these VPs come into these meetings with their own chief of staff or secretary or business admin and write everything down for them and organize everything, I felt like, why can't every person have this? Whether you're an engineer, whether you're a PM, whether you're a salesperson, everyone deserves an AI secretary. Now, I use the word AI secretary back then jokingly because there was no AI back then. There was no Chat GPT in 2016, 2017, 2018.
No one was even really talking about it,
Yeah, and when we talk to people, they're like, this is a silly idea, because if it was actually technically feasible, some big company would have already built it.
Right.
And that wasn't the case. So we were very naive 21-year-olds who had a lot of failures, and our backs were up against the wall. We're running through our savings, living in a city like SF. It's really expensive. I moved back home, and then we told ourselves we've been at this for 2+ years. We don't really have much to show for it. And my co-founder, Sam, turned down Harvard Business School for this. And previously I had turned down Stanford. I had turned down Cambridge to go jump in and do this. And I left a 6-figure job at Microsoft to do this. And we're like, we can't quit now. Like, you have to have something to show for it. And then we really focused in on what is the one thing that we have every single day. And let's start with that. And it's meetings. Meetings are unavoidable. And we ended up saying, well, wouldn't it be nice to have this secretary? And the idea started flashing back to my time at Microsoft. And we said, okay, what is needed to do this? Well, you need transcription and speech recognition, and you need AI to be able to attend meetings with you. You're going to be in meetings in person. You're going to be meetings over Zoom. So we started building out the idea after talking to 100 people, getting a few people to commit to putting down money and saying, hey, I'll pay for our AI secretary service. Like, they thought it would be like a human service where we would plug them with a secretary, almost like, an Uber. You press a button and then you have someone come in and take notes for you. That was the initial idea. And it's crazy because we had investors back then tell us, don't use tech to do this. You should create like a human in the loop service. Like, Otherwise, you're never going to get to high quality. But to circle all that back, we said, no, we have to scale this. It has to be tech enabled. And after we were able to get people to put money down, we said, okay, we're now going to write code. Because all those other 8 times we started building the product, we would spend 6 months writing the code, building it, and then no one wanted the tech.
Yeah.
So this time we said, we're going to find the people that actually need this tech. We're going to get them to put money down. And only then we'll go build the product and say, hey, we'll have something working for you in a month. And that's how that was the first time we did it that way. And it was the right way. And we ended up building the technology then. And at that time, the transcription was awful. Like, it was terrible, let me tell you.
Our company does transcription, so we've always been competed with VRS for years, and it's never been great.
Yeah, it was never great. I would say in a best case scenario, it was 80% at the time, back almost
That's
7,
accurate.
8 years ago.
And it's not much better now from a strictly VRS standpoint, voice recognition software.
I can confidently say today, Fireflies will do better than a human in 95% of the cases.
That's awesome.
The accuracy is like 98% for English. We also support 100 different languages, and we're seeing the accuracy improve in those languages. It can work in noisy environments. Our AI can detect speakers. But at the time, we didn't have all this, right? So what we said is, well, what's the best alternative here, right? Is you not taking any notes and not remembering anything. So let's transcribe your meetings and create a way for you to search back through those meetings and jog your memory. The whole value prop at the time was, we want to help you jog your memory. Like, it's your second brain. It's going to help you remember your conversations with your clients, your candidates, all of that stuff. But then over time, fast forward, you get ChatGPT, you get LLMs, you get AI, the voice technology starts improving, and we rode that wave. Fireflies happened over a wave of 3 amazing incidents. One is transcription accuracy started getting significantly better around 2019, 2020, right around the time when we were working on this. The other thing is costs started going down, where before, if you wanted like 1 hour of transcription, that was extremely expensive. You're paying $60 to $70. Whereas with Fireflies, you can get like a year's subscription for the price that you pay for 1 to 2 hours of human transcription. So you beat it out on the cost. And then COVID happens. Everyone's hopping on video calls, and you're having Zoom fatigue, going from one meeting to another, not remembering anything. And we launched just a few months before COVID in 2020, January 2020. And that helped us take off like crazy. And then the final wave is the LLMs and ChatGPT. Because when we first launched, transcription was a stretch. And then transcription became really good, right? It's like 90% plus, 95% plus. And then we're like, okay, what do we do about the notes, the core value prop? And at the time, people were saying, there is no way you can write notes like a human would. Because notes is an art. It's creative. You have to paraphrase. You have to create bullet points. You have to do shorthand. You have to do all of these things. And we were like, just wait and see. LLMs came out. We partner with OpenAI. And the rest is history. Like, today, Fireflies writes better notes than me. It's more detailed. It has action items. It creates shorthand bullet point notes. It does everything that a human would. And it does it tirelessly, whether it's 5 a.m. in the morning or 10 p.m. at night. It will do it regardless. And that was the breakthrough for us. So it took us from 2020 to 2022 to start validating the tech. And then 2023 onwards, we just started blitz scaling, because whatever we promised back in 2020, it came to reality. In fact, it went above our expectations.
That's awesome. Well, how are you handling where things are now with, competition exploding in this space, right? So you mentioned Zoom. Zoom got the features built in now. And Microsoft with their Copilot stuff. And so not everybody, but there's a lot of competition. How are you guys handling that, staying on top of market share?
Yeah, great question. So when something starts working, that's when the incumbents start seeing and say, hey, we should just look at what they're doing. We've had companies that come to us and ask at potentially acquiring us, because this is like definitely working. And we wanted to stay an independent company and build this into something massive. What we felt at the time was the core product still has to be incredible. It has to be amazing. We need to have the best summaries, notes on the market. So you compare us to almost any of these products, like we will definitely outshine just on quality, right? But quality alone isn't enough, but it is definitely what gets you a seat at the table.
Yeah, for sure.
Afterwards, you realize you need this AI to work across everything, whether you're on a Zoom call, whether you're on a Teams call, whether you're in person, whether you're doing a phone call through a telephony system. And one really cool thing about Fireflies is that it's like Switzerland, and it works across every system, every platform, and it integrates everywhere. So you have one AI that you just need to set up, and it works seamlessly after that. And by the way, that Switzerland comment was actually given by Bill Gates when I had a conversation with him. And it was an interesting conversation because they have Microsoft and they have some similar competing products.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I can see where you guys really shine because you're Switzerland. You work with everything and everyone. And for the end user, communication systems are fragmented. So you need that, right?
Yeah. So like we're very heavy in Zoom usage because we have remote scribe services and our business phone system is Zoom. So we're really heavy in that product. The problem is we meet with clients all the time that they want to meet in Teams, or they want to meet in Google Meet, or they want to meet in WebEx, or they, whatever. And that Zoom AI doesn't go with us then.
Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't remember all the context, like what you care about, what's important to you. Because Fireflies also can be customized to who you are, what your role is, and what type of meeting
that sounds amazing.
So if you're a doctor, the Fireflies note taker works fundamentally differently than if you're a financial advisor or if you are a salesperson. The other thing is we really focused in on teams, like building this product for teams from day one was very important for us because Fireflies is great if you use it as one person, but it's even better when you're using it as a team where all your shared knowledge, all your shared meetings come in one place. And we're creating this like knowledge base and repository that you can search through and have information for. That's where we really outshine most of the other products out there. It's collaborative, it's team-centric, and we integrate also on the downstream side to all the work applications you use. So if you're a salesperson and you're taking all of these meetings and all the notes are being generated, it'll automatically go into Salesforce, your CRM, and fill out all the information. Or it'll send the notes in Slack, or it will create a PDF of the notes in Dropbox. So it'll work with all these systems and do all this downstream work, which ends up making it so integrated. And I like to say Fireflies is not just a note taker anymore. It's my teammate because it follows me around and does all the work that I don't want to after a meeting. Because real work starts when you hit that end button on a call, right? After this, you're going to have to go write the podcast notes. You're going to have to send up some follow-up emails, some thank you messages, all the stuff. Fireflies will take care of all of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really is, because I'm just wrapping my head around that, because that's, a while back, before it was even this kind of thing was integrated into Zoom, I tried using like Otter AI and stuff like that because I saw people using that, and I just like, I'll check it out. And it was really I really couldn't depend on it. You know what I mean? Not necessarily the quality was meh, but that was just it. Sometimes it wouldn't even show up for meetings. It was like that employee that forgot the meeting was even happening. I was like, okay, I can't depend on this. Out you go. So I stopped that. So that is really cool thinking. I'm just noodling. Okay, it's doing all this for me in the meeting, but when I get out of this meeting, if it could jump into my CRM, update the opportunity on this deal, and those kind of things, I mean, that's next level, right? So here's a question, and Matt brought this up to me. So thanks, Matt. I know you don't have to chime in and say you're welcome, but I didn't really think about this, but he brought it up and said, hey, when we bring our AI assistants into meetings, sometimes whoever's controlling those meetings may or may not allow them in. Maybe there's privacy concerns, and so we work a lot in the healthcare environment, and we're meeting with folks, and there's always the questions about, hey, we don't want this recorded. Where's it being stored? Who has access to this? So on and so forth, right? Have you guys addressed that, or is that a part of something that you guys are trying to solve?
When we first launched, people would feel, what is this AI note taker? I don't feel comfortable with it. Like, why is this on the call?
Yeah.
Is this a spy? Like, what's going on with this note taker?
What are you
And
doing?
then the same people that said that today, I've had people message me saying, I feel so much more relaxed knowing that Fireflies is on the call when I see that title, I see the note taker, because I know I don't have to remember everything. Like the AI is doing it. So it's actually like reducing my anxiety. Like I get more anxiety if Fireflies is not on the call. And that's a complete 180 from these customers. And part of that is we're trying to create value for users. And when someone hops on a call and says, hey, I'm using Fireflies for note taking, I hope it's okay. If you don't want, I can remove it. It creates an interaction. It creates a conversation. Compliance creates a conversation. And a lot of times when people phrase it as, hey, I can send you the notes afterwards, this works really cool, I like using this tool, that's our marketing right there. We don't have to spend $1 on advertising or anything like that. If we just make our customers really happy, they are going to evangelize our product for us. That's why we have a very flexible free tier for people that want to use it continuously. They can do that. And through that, over the years, we've made Fireflies and the idea of an AI note taker, we really coined that term at the time, to be socially acceptable. And we've done a lot of work on security, privacy, enterprise controls. We work with CIOs of large companies. A lot of the time, we tell them, look, we're not training on your data. Yeah. Your data is yours. If you want to delete it, you can delete it anytime. Unlike other AI companies, I won't talk about, name the specific competitors, a lot of them, where they will take your data and train on that data to improve their models and do other stuff with it. We do not do that by default. We also have a private storage offering where if you're a large business or a medium-sized business, you can have the Fireflies notes and transcript stored on your own storage instances. So you have that autonomy over your data. And we've built a lot of robust access control capabilities. So as people ask hey, I don't want so-and-so to see this meeting in my team, I need to make it private. I need to put these in a private channel. So we have those capabilities as well. Because a lot of times administrators are I had a great conversation, but this conversation should not be seen by other teammates. So privacy controls is a huge thing. And then we even have data retention controls where I love this, but I want the data deleted after 7 days. Yeah. It's cool. I want it wiped after 7 days. Almost like Snapchat disappearing stories. It's the same thing there. And we've recently introduced a new mode where you can have just the notes and transcripts saved and not the audio. Because there's some businesses based on the compliance of their industry where they don't want the audio trail. They just want the notes and transcripts. So we're working with people in finance, we're working with people in some of the more sensitive industries. We try to cater to all of their needs. But that doesn't happen overnight. It took 4 or 5 years of evangelizing and getting people to realize, hey, this adds more value to me than it does about invading my privacy. And I have full control over my data.
That's awesome. That is great. Leading from that, it's not even on my list, but it just popped into my head. When it comes to, taking an account feedback from your customers and things like that, sounds like you're very in tune with the folks that are using the product. What are some of the biggest features that you maybe don't have now that people are talking about that they want or wondering if it's possible?
People have always said, I love Fireflies, but what if it can just go do the meeting on my behalf without even having any other person from my team attend that meeting? So I'm going to tease at that right now. I won't reveal the full stuff.
Are we talking almost feed your assistant, here's my agenda, here's what I want you to cover. Bring this up, get me some answers. Here's some follow-up questions to these type of things. Or is that kind of what you're hinting at?
I mean, Fireflies knows everything I need to say on certain types of calls. Mm-hmm. And if it can go take that call and have a great interaction with that person or client or whoever, that's what people have asked. That's the future that they want. And we've been listening to them, and we've been seeing how can we stretch the technology to do some crazy things like that.
All right, so I won't make
that's
you
something
give
I'm
up
very
too
excited
much.
for. We have some cool stuff in the works that will come out very soon. We've also seen people really talk about the power of Fireflies in terms of the different systems that we use it in. And there's so many use cases beyond note-taking. And what we found was, well, Fireflies can do a lot more than just notes. And we built an AI app store where you can now have Fireflies create scorecards, write up emails, generate reports, create memos, do anything you want.
Can they make sales? I'm just playing around with you. I mean, if I could have an AI train on the way I handle a call, you know what I mean? And okay, go make these 30 calls and make it past the gatekeeper.
You're onto something. You're definitely onto something that we're looking at. All I will say is we are very much in the era of AI agents. And now everyone uses this word AI agents and stuff.
Yeah, that was on my list. And
I will say Fireflies is the first AI agent ever out there in mass markets that was a note-taking agent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be limited to note-taking.
Right.
So we're having agents that we're working on, but we've also rolled out AI applications where Fireflies can create scorecards of all my sales calls. It can analyze all my sales calls. It can write up the follow-up emails. It can extract the 5-6 fields that I need from a sales call, like budget, authority, next steps, and then go and fill them out. So it's doing more. So we have 200 plus apps, which you can think of as skills or capabilities that Fireflies can do beyond just note taking. And this is what's allowing us to cover a lot of those feature requests and use cases across industries. So we have AI apps for salespeople, AI apps for recruiters, AI apps for marketers. I'll give one that I love using. One of the AI apps that I have is after a meeting, Fireflies will go in, take the most memorable quotes and clip them into 30-second sound bites automatically.
Oh, Krish, you're killing me. Oh, my brain's going nuts here because we do a daily version of this show where we're kind of just shucking and jiving, and we try to bring in commentators and we'll talk about more current things. But then we use that as content we create and we clip up and we put out there, to kind of promo the company and the show. Man, if an AI could do that work for me, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it can clip up any areas, especially because there's highlight moments, right? It understands the sentiment, it understands what's going on. At the end of the day, clipping videos is also just summaries, right? You have to summarize and understand the content. So that's something I love using. I'll be on a legal call and they're talking about a bunch of different things that I don't understand. And then I can have Fireflies help me draft up a template for what I need to use for an NDA, for example. Just putting these things out there. We're on marketing calls. We're brainstorming some crazy cool ideas. And then I will basically go to Fireflies and say, hey, can you draft up 5 LinkedIn posts based on what we talked about?
Yeah.
And there's an app for creating LinkedIn posts on Fireflies. So conversations is where work starts. That's the thesis on day one.
Yeah.
And now you can think about all the different things you can do from that source of data.
All right, let's play with this a minute. Okay. So here's what I do for my daily show. I leverage OpenAI, my GPT. I've trained a prompt engineer. So what I do in the morning is I say, okay, it's time to get today's show ready, right? So what it does is it knows the segments I want to cover. And it says, hey, here's your segments. Do you want to do this today or this today or that today, this today? And I'll say, I'll take a quick look at my calendar from yesterday and what I did and what I got today. And I'll think about it for a little bit. I'll let it ruminate and I'll be okay, here's what I want to cover in the first segment based on what we did yesterday, what we accomplished in our meetings, pushing the buck forward a few things, close some deals, because I cover that in the daily show just to kind of give the audience an understanding of what it's like running a business and growing it and stuff. And then I'll talk about wins and losses, but I have to look at my calendar and spend some time, okay, what's going on? Now, I'm thinking okay, if I've got an agent that's in my meetings, a lot of these are Zoom meetings, sometimes they're not, right? But in person, I could have it, listening to, and aggregate all that data at the end of the day, pull out the key things based on an understanding and say, and the next time I ask it to write my show, it already knows what's going on. So it's going to pull that segment stuff out because what it'll do is once I have the segments done, it'll fill out the outline that I'm going to run through. It'll build it'll build all the post content that I give to my marketing team to make the posts, and it'll write my scripts for my promo videos that I'll record 30 seconds or whatever. But it's still and I tried training my son who's 14 to do all that stuff for me, but he doesn't, I can't consistently get him to do that. And he still needs to be in my head, right? He's not at the point where he thinks like me right now, right? As much as he looks like me and acts like me and is lazy like me.
I'll give you a very similar example of what my teammate does. We have a feature called Ask Fred, where you can just go ask Fireflies questions about an individual meeting. We've now expanded that capability where you could ask it about a bunch of past meetings. So what my EA will do to help me prep for my weekly strategy sync is go back through my meetings, like literally look at the 6 meetings or look at the last 10 meetings Krish had this past week, pull out all the potential topics that are worth discussing at the strategy sync based on the ongoing discussions he had. Usually he'll have something that's from a priority, something that he cares about. So my EA can go in and ask Fireflies or ask Fred, hey, what are Krish's top 5 priorities from his last week's conversations? And which of these can be created as topics for our broader all-hands strategy sync that happens?
Mm-hmm.
And now she doesn't have to go listen to all of my meetings.
Yeah.
She can just get at least the key gist and say, hey, and the AI is smart enough to say, Krish spent a lot of time talking about AI agents on these last 5-10 meetings. And these were some blockers that the team had brought up. That would be a great topic for the larger discussion. So we do that already today, every day in our workflow. I do it with my sales team where I can't go sit and listen to every single one of my sales team's calls. So what I'll say is, Bob had a bunch of meetings, right? So I'll go to Fireflies and say, look at Bob's last 10 sales calls and pull out the top 5 objections and the top 5 feature requests that have come up across all his sales calls in the last 2 weeks. And that's how I get my product insights.
Mm-hmm.
And then I send that over to my PMs and said, hey, should we be prioritizing these?
Yep. Oh, that's great. Krish, I'm sold. I'm gonna tell my assistant, get me on Fireflies right away. I'm not joking. My mind's going nuts right now of possibilities. All right, we've taken a lot of your time. I got a couple things I want to hit on outside of business. It's a lot of fun. I kind of just want to keep sticking on this because I got so many. Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? What's something? I mean, you're probably at a point where you're meeting with a lot of those. You're doing some shows, podcasts, and things like that. What's something that you normally don't get a chance to talk about, in interviews, that you wish you had a chance to kind of share about a little bit?
About myself, about Fireflies,
about yourself, about things you like to do, about visions towards things you want to accomplish, that kind of stuff.
I think a lot about where will work be 5 to 10 years from now, and I've talked about this on shows, but I don't have an answer to this. But genuinely, work should feel more fun. It should feel better, and it should feel like an extension of what we already enjoy doing. And I always ask myself, and I talk to my friends about this. I have friends that wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, drive 2 hours to work. They sit in front of a desk. Their manager is watching them. They're entering stuff into a spreadsheet. They get lunch, coffee break, and then rinse and repeat and drive back in traffic for 2 hours. And I always ask, I don't think humans are designed to do this every single day. One, do you have to be working from the office? We are a 100% remote company.
100%.
And
Wow.
we've been like that before the pandemic, during the pandemic, after the pandemic. And it's interesting because during the pandemic, we were able to hire easily, we were able to scale easily, but there was a lot of competition, right? Because a lot of people were offering remote work.
Right.
And then after the pandemic, you see all these big companies first saying, you need to be in the office 3 days a week. You need to be in the office 5 days a week, which actually makes hiring easier for us because there's great talent out there that does not need to be micromanaged and told to come into the office that's going to do great work no matter where they're in the world.
Yeah.
So I really think a lot about, one, what is the future of work and how does AI help with that? But two, is remote work sustainable in the world of AI, right? So these are the two things that I think a lot about because work should feel like play. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun. And again, a lot of knowledge workers, we have the privilege to do things that are fun, right? It's very different working in a factory or working in construction because that's a lot of hard work.
Yep.
But at least for the knowledge workers that are out there, how do you make work more pleasurable? And how do you get rid of all of like this like monotonous, repetitive stuff? So that's what like I think a lot about. And I also think about how will that shape society in the long run, where if people actually enjoy the work they do, they don't have to work as much and they can get as much done in 5 hours instead of like 10 hours. What does that look like? How will that change how our streets and like our buildings are set up? Like, will we need big skyscrapers? Will we need like a lot of crowded places in cities? So I just think about like, how is AI and like all of this going to change the physical infrastructure that's around us? Yeah.
Yeah. Gut the offices and fill them with servers, right? Almost in order to power the AI. So, okay. So Krish, when is work like play most for you?
For me, work-life balance doesn't exist, to be honest.
But seriously though, when you're in the midst of it and you're getting after it every day, when's it most rewarding? And when you're like, you're in the zone, you're not, thinking, I don't want to be doing this right now.
The best time is when we are launching something new and can set the plans, work on design. I love doing great design brainstorms with our team, working with engineers on a hard problem and figuring out how to optimize it, how to scale it. That gives me the most fun. I'm an extroverted introvert. So as much as I enjoy being in front of people, I'll be in front of investors, I'll be in the public. My favorite time is actually being a builder and being creative and doing those sort of things. So I get the greatest joy when I don't have a lot of meetings on my calendar and I am instead having meetings with my team and spending a lot of time just brainstorming, kicking the can, and just talking about a lot of different things. It's usually those serendipitous conversations where a lot of cool stuff comes out. That's when you're in your flow state. So I love that the most. I like creating and building stuff with the team, especially our engineers and design folks.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I can relate. I mean, when you said, how do we make work more about, for the folks doing the work, more about the things that feel like play or feel enjoyable and less about all those monotonous things. If my work every day was growing our company, meeting with, people that we can serve and figuring out how to solve their problems and not all the other work that doing that creates, man, that would be amazing. Right?
Well, when work is fun, you actually also move faster. There's a great example of a few weeks ago, we were doing billboards for the very first time at Fireflies. And quite honestly, I don't know anything about billboards. And my design team doesn't know anything about billboards or typography, but we did not want to hire an outside counsel or an outside agency. We said, we should do this ourselves. And I care a lot about like brand messaging, these sort of things. And within a week, I learned about everything about billboards. I'd be walking around New York. I would see all these billboards. I'd take pictures, share them with the team. We'd just be chatting about, I like this idea, or I don't like this idea, or this would be good. And we're using AI to help us come up with different messaging frameworks. And before you know it, like we were able to just sit on a brainstorm and within like a 2-hour work session, come up with like the entire billboard campaign. These included train wraps in cities like Colorado, big billboards in Austin, a huge billboard in like Times Square. And we did all of that in just a couple hours in that 1 week. And if you were to do this in a traditional organization, that's a 6-month project.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. That's awesome. So how about this? Looking back, all the seasons you've kind of been through to get you to where you are now, which one of those seasons kind of taught you the most and how come?
2020, 2021 was all about keeping the system alive because we had so much demand. Like you have to literally glue it together with duct tape and make sure it doesn't break. And the analogy I like to use is once your product is live and people love it and start using it, it's insane. It's like you need to go fix a pipe leak, but you're not allowed to shut down the water. So you have to do the plumbing without shutting down the water because you cannot disrupt the end user experience. You have to like fix it. That was like the hardest challenge in 2020, 2021. A lot of late night calls, escalations, P1s, systems going down. It was really stressful all the way into 2022. So we ended up rebuilding our entire tech stack from scratch. Like that was like a really, really big thing for us. 2023 was like a rocket ship growth where all of a sudden things start working, we don't need to justify why our product exists. People are saying, this exists, I need to use it, and we need to like get it ASAP. For the first time, demand like outgrew everything else. Like what you'll know when you're on that, like there's a famous saying, like you'll know when you have product market fit, when your hair is on fire, you can feel it. That was like 2023 for us, where all that hard work we had done. Because I remember from 2016 to 2020, like we would do everything. But like if someone doesn't want you, they do not want you. You can't do anything to change that. Like unless they believe deep down inside, this is cool, I need to give this person a chance, you cannot convince someone otherwise. And that applies to all aspects of life. That was our biggest thing was you can't artificially create demand. But once demand is there, oh boy, you need to buckle up and execute and go heads down. And there's a different level of challenge, right? The first couple of years, that challenge is finding the demand, finding someone that wants it. And there's pain in that. And then there's pain in like scaling this up and making sure you execute operationally. So being like a founder, you have to have both the ability to zoom in and do all the nitty-gritty parts really well, but also zoom out and say, are we going in the right direction? I know we're executing well, but is the train going in the right direction? So
here's kind of my last question, then I'll let you go. Unfortunately, I'd hang on to you a long time if I could, but this has been great. So what's something you've learned to be true that's, a lot of people might say, well, that's your opinion, but they don't like it. But so what's kind of an unpopular opinion you've got that you've learned to be true about, startups, growing, product design, those kind of things? Something maybe that people kind of avoid and it holds them back.
Yeah. Well, I think way too many people put more emphasis on networking, going to conferences, going to these happy hours instead of building. You should be talking to your customers and you should be building, especially in that first 1 year. You networking and you trying to talk to people, at least in my world of software, tech, startups, people put way more emphasis on networking and socializing and feeling like there's going to be someone that's going to connect me to someone and it's going to like create like this amazing thing. No, you got to first build something people want, and that will get you all the connections that you need. But if you just focus more on networking and having someone carry you, that doesn't work. So we wasted a good amount of time because people told us you should go to this conference, you should go to this event, this famous investor will be there. Like a lot of the time people go in thinking, what can this person do for me? Yep. And you have to go in like saying, I have something that these people will want. And when we did that and we stopped going to all these events and like these social events and trying to be socialites in the tech scene in San Francisco, and just said, you know what, we're going to shun all that. We're going to just work on building things. We're going to get traction. We're going to make our customers happy. Customers started knocking on our door. Investors started knocking on our door. And that's like the biggest flip is you have to create value before going out to people and asking for a favor.
I think we just became best friends, Krish, because I get so much side eye and flack for having that exact opinion. I can't tell you that, we're members of chambers and, all these different organizations and got to go to this show. And it's like, I can't tell you the last time I went to any of those networking things. I did them for years, and it took me a few years to realize it was the biggest waste of my time, even as a salesperson when I was younger. It was such a big waste of time because you hit it on the head. What's happening is everybody out there, and to some degree, I feel this way about platforms like LinkedIn, is like everybody's on those things talking about trying to figure out what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And they're saying, oh, I can help you and let's connect. But it's really just, it's kind of like this kind of narcissistic gathering of where can I find the person to forward my agenda through? Yeah. And everybody kind of knows it. So yeah, you kind of go there and you have a drink and you shake hands and you sit around a table and maybe you listen to somebody talk. But at the end of the day, very little was getting done. And I did this for years, and it took me a lot of kind of banging my head up against the wall to figure that out. And now you're absolutely right. It's like, talk to your clients, talk to people that have fruit on the tree. Don't go out, do speaking engagements and talk to people if you've really got no fruit, right? Just because you've read a book or just because you've, you've learned a little something and taken a class doesn't mean that necessarily that you need to be, out there, saying that you are the subject matter expert. So cool.
Absolutely.
Hey, fantastic. Krish, I got you for a lot more time than I bargained for. So thank you so much for playing along with that. This has been great. It's been an honor having you on your show. Not just because of the success you've attained, but because, I can see you are a genuine person. You're super easy to talk to, very relatable. Definitely somebody that, I could see sitting down with almost anybody like me and just, making a connection. So, hey.
Yeah, we had a lot to relate on. I appreciate it. And I had a lot of fun too. So thanks for making the time. Right,
absolutely, Krish. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. And can't wait to hear all the comments and learn a little bit more get the feedback from you guys about what you thought about Krish and his journey. Thanks so much, Krish.